have missed doing our podcast, and we have a special guest today. We have, introduce yourself.
Davida Mattox. Everybody calls me Davy, though, because that's easy.
I know her as Davy.
Yes. I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner. I have a practice in Lexington, and I'm a mom, and I like to play music and connect with people. So here I am, connecting.
So we are super excited to have Davy on today. This is Behind the Mug, a podcast where we talk about being a business owner, being a mom, it kind of started out just being like entrepreneurs and women and moms, but we kind of talk about everything at this point. But anyways, I'm Jen and
I'm Amy, and
we are, this is just weird. This is weird because we're not together.
It's so, I'm used to sitting across the table from you, and now I'm like in my play.
It's like a really slow breakup. Like we went to like side by side right up in each other's grill to like having to sit a little further to like Amy being like, should I even come in? And like,
I've just been really nervous. I'm like, I don't know what I'm allowed to do. I don't know what I can touch. And it's just so scary. So I'm just kind of like, well, maybe we should figure out a way to do this online where we don't have to get out and get into this mess.
Yeah. And remember, we were also like 2 weeks ago, we were like, we don't even want to talk about it. We don't want to talk about it. We only want to spread positivity on the podcast. We don't want to discuss it. And now it's just like, okay, we're going to have to address this.
It's on everybody's mind. So it's like, they kind of want to talk about it because everyone's so confused and scared. And I feel like everyone can relate because we feel just the same as everybody else does about this. So, yeah.
So, all right, guys. Anyways, today what we're going to talk about is we usually talk about a lot of funny stuff and share a lot of stories, but today we want to specifically talk about the way that the COVID-19 and social distancing and isolations and all that is affecting us all mentally and emotionally. I bet there's probably not but a handful of people across the entire nation that are not mentally disturbed by this in some way, shape, or form. So right now, more than ever, I think mental illness, anxiety, and depression is okay to talk about now more than it ever has been. Wouldn't you say, Davy?
I would think so. I think we are in a really unique situation right now where everyone is having the same emotional experience. We might have different thoughts about it, different perspectives. We all have different behaviors. We have different coping skills. We have different lived experiences. But I think everyone is at a very basic level, like feeling the same things. And I think that especially for people who either diagnosed or undiagnosed already had some propensity for depression, anxiety, or bipolar disorder, psychosis, or any of those mental illnesses, issues, ADHD even, anything. Again, whether diagnosed or not, I think the volume on all those things is turned up.
Yeah, I believe so too. I think everything is very magnified. I know Amy and I were talking just a little while ago about how there's people, like you said, that don't necessarily always have those even general anxieties, or maybe they do and they just don't realize it because they've not been diagnosed or they don't talk about it and they just aren't educated on it. Amy and I have talked about how when it comes to mental health, she may not have really had a lot of experiences of really battling stuff like that, whereas I'm on the other end of the spectrum and I've always battled it. But Amy is having some very serious anxieties with, how old is Isla?
She is 2.5. She'll be 3 in June. So she has no idea. Yeah, like she doesn't understand, and I could try to explain it, but it still wouldn't click with her. But I had to pull her out of daycare, which she is used to. I'm used to having that time to get my work done and get the house cleaned and do my normal stuff, and she has that time to spend with her friends and learn how she has a structure with that. So she was so always look forward to actually being there, and now she can't, and she has no idea why. So like she'll get up in the morning and say, backpack mommy, go car, like want to go to school, and we can't. And I can't get anything done. And, she has been protesting naps now for the past 3 days. So I'm like, I'm on edge constantly. And I've never had any anxiety about hardly anything. And now with even before like now, when it first came up that this is actually a lot worse than the flu and a lot worse than a cold, that's when it got a lot scarier for me. And I think that's when I just like a switch flipped in me, and I'm scared of everything now. So just a lot going on, like with the change in lifestyle and life, everyday life that we were used to, plus this virus. It's just like, what?
It's magnified.
We're living in a movie, and I feel like everything's just kind of like so surreal and unreal. Like doesn't feel like, it feels like a dream, really.
Yes, it really does. It's crazy and it's very scary, but I will say something positive that I have noticed. Mainly, I say mainly, but the only community of experience with this is my own. I would like to think it's like that everywhere, but with our community, I have like really seen a form of togetherness. We're all sticking together and like pulling our own weight as well as everybody else's,
Mm-hmm.
And so that's been kind of cool to see people all across the nation really just pulling together,
Oh yeah.
That's been a breath of fresh air for sure.
Well, and I think I saw a post that one of my friends posted, and she was like, if we weren't in this stage in life right now, like we would all be complaining because we don't have enough time at home, and we don't have enough family time together, and we don't get to spend time just relaxing at the house. And like, here it is. Here you go. Like, kind of look at this as kind of like a blessing, in disguise, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's hard to see it as that when you're in that.
Yes, it is, especially when, there's people being stripped of everything. You got people losing their jobs. You got people who can't come home and hug their kids because they're in the health field,
It's so terrible.
It is. So, Davey, I know that you talked a little bit about some different ways that you personally are handling the mental and emotional stress of having to go through this with your kids. And I was just going to see if you would talk a little bit about that, because I really loved how you explained the other night. Davey has a business page, and she went live on her business page the other night, and I got to tune into that. And she just had some really awesome ideas on how to, I guess, process what's going on while you're dealing with your kids at home.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think again, my only frame of reference, like the frame of reference I always start from is myself, in anything that I'm like processing or going through personally or professionally. And so that was one of my goals the other night.
Okay.
All the things that are happening, I realized were very scary for me. Like, I very much value social connection, and touch is one of my love languages. And so as these things were happening and being said, I like had some first denial, like I have too much on my plate already. I can't look at those things. Then it was some anger and some resistance and some like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm capable of doing this, these things that we need to do. And then as I started realizing what was going on, then I started looking for, okay, what's happening here? What's the pattern? And then I started thinking about other people that I've talked with, whether that's professionally or personally, my friends. And one of the things that hit me was stages of grieving. And that is what I think is the most universal kind of solidarity thing that we are all going through right now around the world. So knowing that and like looking back over stages of grieving just gave me sort of a frame of reference, I think, for watching myself and being mindful of where I was. Then kind of taking that and looking at, okay, how am I interacting with my kids and what's going on? Because I noticed myself being much more quick to be frustrated, just a shorter fuse, shorter temper. Things that are not normally that big of a deal felt like a big deal. Like I've said for the third time, hey, grab your shoes. So I noticed myself being shorter. I noticed myself wanting to be engaged. And I noticed my rational brain, my wise mind saying, like, you have this opportunity to do an activity with your 7-year-old right now who's asking you to draw a picture with him. What is the disconnect here? Why are you not in this moment? Because 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 3 months ago, you would have been like bitter that you don't have time to draw a picture with your child. So why are you not in this moment? And so I really just sat with that. When I have really uncomfortable feelings, the first thing I do is I ask myself, when have I felt like this before? When is the last time I can remember feeling like this? And what is happening now that is similar to those things? And am I reacting to what's happening right now? Or am I reacting to all the times I've felt this way? Am I reacting to the first time I felt this way? It helps me pick things apart. And so when I sat with that and asked myself some questions, I realized it really, for me, was coming down to basic kind of core fears of power, control, autonomy, feeling like those things were being taken away from me, feeling like I didn't have control and voice in what was happening. And I noticed that I started paying attention to what were common things that I was more quickly to snap about. And it was not following directions. My kids are 7 and 10. On a good day, it's 2 to 3 requests before anything happens. And I will say I'm not always patient, so I might fire off those 2 or 3 requests a little quicker than I should have.
Yeah.
So I noticed that
I
even
can relate.
yeah, shoes. Get your shoes. Want to get your shoes. And so when I sat with it, I realized it was all coming down to fear. And so I sat down with my kids one-on-one because the 3 of us together were too distractible. But so one-on-one, when I had a moment, I sat with each of them and I said, I noticed that I am getting frustrated more quickly when I ask you to do something and it's taking you longer to do it than you're just ignoring me. And then I said, I think I figured out what it is. And so I tried to explain to them that it's important that I know that they trust me to be able to give them directions, that they can follow my directions, because at the base of all that is safety. And if I can't trust you to trust me to put your shoes on when I've asked you to, or to pick something up out of the floor, or come eat, basic things that we need to do every day, then my brain starts spinning out what if something really bad happens? What if something really bad is happening right now? And what if I can't keep my kids safe? What if I can't keep you safe? And I was pretty honest with them, like on a 17-year-old level of, as a mom, and your daddy feels the same way. Like our primary job, the primary goal in our brain is keeping you safe and helping you grow and learn and become capable humans that can, function in the world. And so right now, that's really being tested for me. Like, can I do this? Can I teach you the things you need to keep you safe? And so I told, especially people I was able to have a little more of this like deeper conversation with, I said, when I'm asking you to do things, I feel as though you're ignoring me. I feel powerless. I feel powerless. And there are things going on in the world right now that are making everyone feel kind of powerless. I said, so then when I start feeling powerless, I want to take control, and that can come out as bellowing at you to do something.
Because you're so angry at that point.
Yes, I'm just
so angry, and you don't even know who you're mad at, really. Just in general, it's just this anger.
Yeah, I'm mad at COVID-19. I'm mad at
right.
Yeah.
That's exactly. It's as if it really is a person that people are actually just like freaking angry at it.
Yeah.
Well, I found myself being really angry at whoever it was that ate the bat in China at the market. I'm like, seriously, like you.
Did you see the meme? There was a bat that said "Eat more chicken." Was holding that. It was. I'm sorry, but I could not help but crack up.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
But yeah, I think me and Amy and probably so many other people can relate to just in general, just getting angry and not taking a minute to stop and say, okay, what is the actual emotion here? Yes, it's anger, but it didn't start out as anger. It started out as fear and led to frustration because my child doesn't understand that fear. And now I'm just going to just yell at my kid because what else do you do?
Yeah.
And that's unhealthy. Then that leads to like guilt, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's just a cycle. Because like I feel like with my fuse is so short now because I've dealt with her not taking a nap and her wanting to hit me and her, like trying to figure out her feelings and how to deal with them because she doesn't really react when we try to punish her. It's like, where am I going with this? And then so every time that something, that she does something bad, I'm just already at the top of my fuse, like immediately.
And then remembering that, okay, if we're all having the same experience, then maybe my kids aren't picking up their stuff and they're not putting their shoes on and they're not coming to eat because they also are powerless right now. And so honoring me and not asking them to is giving them some kind of perceived sense of, I have autonomy and I can make choices and I don't have to come to the table right now. Mm-hmm. I don't think any of that's conscious. So I told my kids, I was like, I made a pact with them. Like when I start getting that powerless feeling, how about I just tell you? I just say, I have that powerless feeling. I was like, and then let's think of some things that you guys can do to help you feel like you're getting to make choices, even though a lot of the choices that you normally would have, you can't make right now. My 7-year-old was like, Mom, I need duct tape. I'm making a box fort. He loves to make box forts. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you can't get duct tape right now. And he went, why? I have allowance. And I was like, well, the tape store is closed. Why?
The tape store. Oh.
Why? Well, remember. And so what I've explained to them is there's a virus and there are a lot of people that the virus could make very sick. And so we have to be super careful not to share our germs with anybody else. And we want to stay away from people as much as we can. We don't carry germs around. And they have seen, get that response. I was like, remember, because the germs and, duct tape isn't, I've tried to explain to them essential. And so what I said was duct tape's not an emergency. Remember, so my 7-year-old had stitches once. I'm like, remember when you had to have stitches? That was an emergency. Duct tape's not an emergency.
It's not an emergency.
Like, but I want it. And I'm like, I know, right? And then I just validate. I'm just like, I know. What fun is it? What else can I do?
I like how you said the other night, like you sit down and you really just, you hash it out and you talk to them and you're just very honest. But then when you have to revisit it later because they're kind of backsliding, you get on their level.
Yeah.
Like you totally, like after that, you bring it down to their level and like the duct tape store. Like there's really a duct tape store. Like you totally have to like backtrack, remember that you got to remind them, but this time try to do it on the kids level.
Yes. The duct tape store is closed.
Yeah. So I think that just overall, everybody really and truly does have just this horrible general anxiety. There's some people who are probably actually experiencing like panic attacks for the very first time. And I know for myself, like it feels like a heart attack. And so like, I can imagine that there are probably people out there who think, I'm having a stroke or I'm having a heart attack. And that's, all jokes aside, I'm being very serious.
No, and I think you go to the hospital right now because.
Yeah, and so that adds to it. And so I think that a lot of people are, and I like the fact that our state is saying, here are things to go to the hospital for. Here are things not to go to the hospital for. I think that's something that's very important because, and that there is like the actual COVID line where you can call if you're just having general anxieties, you're having in general fears, and you feel like you're creating like these own things to give yourself like the heart palpitations and things that would scare you on something that's not, abnormal.
I have experienced all new and wonderful, and I use that term like real sarcastically, physical anxiety symptoms in my body that I am someone who has had panic attacks since I was a kid. And they're different right now. It's like my anxiety experience is the anxiety experience that I always carry with me, but it's like, I don't know, just different experiences I've had. One of the things I've noticed is that I've never had before with like panic or physical anxiety is I get this tightness right here. And then it's in my chest. Like it starts here, but I've never had that before. Like, and I think it's, I think a lot of times the way that we experience physical anxiety is very indicative of, I don't know, I think it's symbolic. I do. I think it manifests in different ways at different times based on the particular anxieties that are going on.
Yeah, and even like in different parts of your body.
Yes.
Like I know at certain times in my life, my stress has affected like my neck because I carry it on my shoulders. And you can carry it in your throat, you can carry it in your stomach, you can carry it in all different places of your body.
So even people who have anxiety, I think it's manifesting in new and unexpected ways.
Yeah, I think that that's very true because this is definitely a situation that we've never had to deal with. So, of course, none of us has had this kind of anxiety. I mean, hell, it's like the end of times. I mean, it's seriously, this is a new kind of anxiety that nobody has ever experienced.
Yeah, right, exactly.
It is crazy. Amy, did you have any questions?
Oh my gosh, I could go on forever. I don't even know. Like, but everything you're saying is hitting home like big time because I'm like, how am I supposed to navigate through this with my child who doesn't understand? And we can't go see Mama and Papa because, we could pass something on to them, even though we may not have it, but we may have it. So it's like all of these things, like I'm trying to go through life thinking that I have it so that I don't infect somebody else, and just is being as cautious as possible. But it's like, when can we ever go back to not feeling that way? Like I'm just wondering more now about life after this, like how our business is really be affected.
I can see this being like a trigger for new PTSD diagnosis.
Totally. Yeah.
Do you suspect that, Davy, to have?
Absolutely. And I think too, like, so something that I've been pondering on, I think I was going to try to do a live yesterday, and I was just tired. I was like, I think I just need to like rest today. I'm not my best self to like, be putting things out into the world right now. So hopefully this evening I will. And I want to talk about PTSD because I think that is a big risk right now. And I also think for people who have PTSD, I mean, I don't even think I could list all the things that have been triggering and potentially triggering for people like in this, just back to that loss of power and control and fears about autonomy and the unknown. So I think there are probably a lot of people who are having a lot of PTSD re-experiencing right now. And body flashbacks that I think sometimes we mistake for panic attacks because there can be very subtle differences between the two. And I think there's probably a lot of people experiencing those things and aren't even, maybe not even be aware of it.
That's so true. It's, I think mindfulness, self-awareness, and all of that is something that I really hope that people look into and try to learn more about. It's something that can seriously keep you from getting very ill through this. I mean, mentally and emotionally ill through this, and all the time. Hopefully, people carry that stuff with them, all the time to prevent stuff like that. But I think now more than ever is very important.
And I'm the kind of person that I feel like I have to always be doing something. I got this from my mama. Like, mom has always, like, she's never stopped. Like, if she's at home, she's doing laundry, she's cooking dinner, and she's feeding the dogs and the cats, and she has already weeded the garden. Like, it's a constant thing. And I'm the kind of person that I'm usually multitasking. So I am listening to a podcast, editing pictures, and I'm doing laundry while the dishes are washing in the dishwasher in the kitchen. So right now, like, I can't do any of those. And so it feels so weird, but I'm here with my child. So I know that it's kind of brought it into perspective for me to like enjoy this time that I do have with my child that I can spend with her instead of doing those other things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's something that I have heard a lot of people say that they really, are kind of excited to have this time with their kids and starting to realize how much, like Davey was saying, like, your kid comes up, wants you to draw a picture with them or look at a picture they've drawn. I mean, how many times are we, I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm checking my emails or, whatever, just wait a minute, give me a minute. And now it's like, what have I missed out on?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And something that I have personally dealt with is having guilt, like thinking I have missed out on so much, and this time has really made me realize that. And I've kind of been dealing with some guilt of my parenting over the past couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I feel the exact same way, because I'm like, I need to enjoy this time and spend it with her and do whatever she wants. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, you also have to mind me. But I think that's the 2-year-old to 3-year-old phase. We're going through some major, like, no, me, it's mine, I can do it, independence thing. So it's a lot of that. I think it's a major phase to be going through at the same time, along with all of this other new stuff that I'm dealing with. So it's like craziness.
It is. I will say I have had some of the most laughs over the past 2 weeks with Facebook memes than I've had in a really long time. So I'm very thankful that people are utilizing Facebook to be funny right now. That's
good stuff, because at the beginning of all of this, like, I tortured myself reading everything I could possibly read about this virus and how it's affecting the other countries. Everything that was posted, I read it, and I would wake up at 4 a.m, not being able to sleep, and I would read more. And I think, and half of them may not have even been true, articles.
There's a lot of misinformed articles.
That completely, like, caused my anxiety to skyrocket. Like, so the first week was filled with that for me. So I would constantly look for new articles, new developments. What do I need to go run to the store for this morning? Like, freak out mode. And that consumed me for the first entire week of all of the scare of it. Because right before that, Jen and I had just done one of our podcast episodes, and we were joking about it. Like, people are like freaking out about
You're
this.
right, we were.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that we did not allow those jokes into production. No. I know we just told on ourselves for doing it, but they're borderline inappropriate, because I didn't think this was going to get that serious.
Exactly. And we were told that it wasn't that serious. So once we were told the truth about it, I completely, came to terms with, wait a minute, like, this is not.
Amy sent me a message at 11:30, like later the following night, and she was like, okay, I think we should pull those coronavirus jokes and memes out of the podcast. I was like, Evan, get on that.
Hoax. We thought it was something people were just way overreacting to. And then we realized, like, it is definitely not. And it's something that is so serious. Like, I was like, but we were all learning it at the same time. Like, everyone realized it at the exact same time that, hey, this is not, what we thought. And we thought we were protected. It's in China, no big deal. Like, it's
right.
I mean,
a really good time that we're all being forced to practice, like, the principle of life on life's terms. I'm not good at that. Like, that's a new thing for me to be working on, because I like to, I've learned about myself that, we all wear masks, right? We all have this armor that we wear that keeps us safe. One of mine is like the know-it-all. So, like, I want all the information. I'm going to go down 5 different rabbit holes, and I'm going to compare it all. And I mean, I've read lots and lots of articles on how to make masks, and I think that I have, like, the best idea right now, because I've read all the things. That's what I'm asked, to know it all, and that's what I do. And there's some part of me that has this false belief that if I have all the information and I can put it together in the right way, I'm smart enough, I'm capable enough, like, I can figure anything out. And I've really, in the past year to 2 years, worked on sitting with my feelings and sitting with the uncomfortable, and the serenity prayer, accepting and knowing how I can do things different and when I can't, and when I just have to, like, roll with this. And I think this is one of those life on life's terms things where, like, there are things we can do and need to do and are doing, but there is an element of uncomfortable that we can't just make it go away. Like, it's here. Like, we have to just roll with this and learn how to not lose our minds or take it out on the people around us. So.
Yeah. And it's hard to figure out, because we have no idea when things will get back to normal, if they'll be, and normal won't be the same normal. Mm-mm. So It's
No, it won't be.
there's no time frame on this really, even though they're giving us a semi one. We don't have any clue as to when all of this will be kind of calmed down. So I'm trying to get into a routine with Isla and get into a routine of like new normalcy so that we can kind of function and I won't take out, my frustrations on other people when it's not their issue. It's more so something that I'm trying to deal with in my own mind.
I think something that's helping me more than anything right now is I keep reminding myself not to lose it on people. I am not like everybody's in this. Everybody's going through this. Try not to get hateful. Try to be understanding because literally every person on the planet is in this right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
whether it's our kids, whether it's a someone we know, whether it's a friend, whether it's a partner, whatever we are feeling and experiencing, they are too, whether it's disruption in routine, whether it's uncomfortableness, whether it's fear, whether it's, trying to find all the right answers by putting all the information together. Like that's what everybody's doing. It's a time when it's more important than ever to be kind to each other and harder than ever to be kind.
I keep catching myself like thinking selfish things and I can't help it. And I know I'm not alone. So any female's lying if they say they're not thinking about it. I'm like, dang, I was supposed to get that red put on my hair, or I had to rip my S&S nails off and it ruined my fingernail, just stupid stuff like that I'm like, this is not the important topic here right now. I cannot let my brain go down that route.
Oh, like I and my blush stuff that I like put on my face, and I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, I don't know if I can get any more right now. I don't know that anybody's gonna want to look at my face.
Listen, like being like single right now, like there's so many funny things, like the funny single memes going around and like COVID dating and the mask and all that kind of stuff. But like, listen, it's frustrating. It really is. Like there are so many little frustrations that, then again, I'm so glad that I'm not locked up with quarantine with the male figure right now. I'm just going to say that.
Well, this is the perfect time for you, Jen, to do kind of like the Love is Blind kind of dating.
Yeah.
So
I did a FaceTime thing that I've been doing. FaceTime. It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah, it could work for you.
Maybe it's what I needed. You got to have that separation there for a while. I mean, it's like we'll see. I'll let you know.
And impose boundaries.
I have no choice but to have boundaries right now. It's kind of cool. I'm kind of digging that.
Reevaluate boundaries. That's a funny thing. Like I said, like I'm kind of like a touchy, person. I don't think ever like inappropriately, but
I know what you mean.
Very mindful of consent. Like that's a huge thing for me. But so I'm touchy, but in a very mindful of consent kind of way. My boys, their dad, is like our oldest son. Like my oldest son, I say, "Can I hug you?" before I give him a hug. My youngest son, I can just grab him and like snuggle him up. Like those are their boundaries. And so he and I were laughing about it the other day. He said, this hasn't really affected me in that way. I am really glad that people are staying away from me.
That's so funny.
He said,
that's hilarious.
He does pretty well, it sounds like.
I'm not like I love hugs. I love hugs, and I hug like at least 50% of my customers, and I mean it just is like delivering their coffees, and I'm like I can't hug you. My kids, we're doing this thing. We're air hugging.
Yeah. He was about something the other day, and we had like a minor kind of disagreement. And we are not together, but I think we co-parent really well. And, he's like, very, very good friend of mine. So I looked at him and I said, do you want a hug? Would it make you feel better? And he went, absolutely not. Stay away.
You have cooties.
That's great.
No.
That is so fun.
Oh my gosh.
Well, Davy, is there any if you could say one thing to like the general population that has just the general basic anxieties of this whole thing that's going on, what's your best coping skill? What do you think?
Make a schedule, make a routine, and try your best to stick with it and make sure that in that day, in that schedule, there is time for connecting. There is time for taking care of your physical needs. There is time for 5 to 10 minutes of just feeling it. You need to freak out. The morning before last, I cried in the shower. I just cried and I let myself do that for, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes. And then it was like, okay, you have to continue with your routine now, and you've had your cry time and keep going. And I think that's the biggest thing is that we don't get too blindsided or too sidetracked or too hyper focused in one or the other, and that we let ourselves have all the feelings. I think of feelings like the ocean tide. Just let them come in and don't hold on to them, and just let them kind of flow back in their time, and stay focused on the things we need to, purpose that we need to do, and the connections that we need to make, and reach out to your support system. Don't let yourself get too isolated. Make room for the uncomfortable, but embrace the life on life's terms and the things you can do as well. And just balance. Everything's about balance.
It really is about balance. And that was a perfect way to say it. I agree with that so much. And if you have a therapist or a psychiatrist or someone that you feel like that you might need to reach out to, don't feel stupid doing that. I think that's okay to say that. I mean, if I need you, I'm going to call you and be like, this and this and this is going on. I don't know if this is normal or if I need my medication adjusted or if I just need to let it out for a minute, but I think I need an appointment. The telemed appointments are off the hook.
Use your behavioral coping skills. If that's not working, reach out to your social support system, your loved ones, your family. If that's not working, you need a higher level of care. And that's when you need a therapist, you need a prescriber, you need to look at medicines, you need to figure out, use those levels of care.
Yes. I think it's so important. Davy is mine. I guess it's okay to say that. If I'm the one saying it, I'm not breaking any laws. Davy is she's been my doctor for a few years now. It's been a while. And I think that she has been very helpful for me in many different ways, but mainly with the medicine management. What I love that you've helped me with is you don't just sling me whatever and say, try this for a month, try that for a month. You really listen and you really pay very close attention to what I'm saying and try to pair it up with the right medication. And it's just, it's something that, if your medication needs tweaked right now, that's, do it. If you need to increase, decrease, whatever,
This is not the time to be strong. It's the time to be strong.
I think this has just been a very awesome thing to discuss right now. I think that for the most part, I think that people have been pretty comfortable talking about how this has mentally affected them. That I also think that more people need to know that it's okay to talk about right now.
The thing that I was saying was, it's the time to be strong, but I think we have to really define what strong means. Like, strong is using my coping skills. Strong is talking about things. Strong is reaching out. Strong is knowing when I need help. Strong is balancing a schedule. Strong is making sure that I eat throughout the day, even if I don't feel hungry because I'm stressed. That's what strength is. Strong is not ignoring the fact that everybody's freaked out. It's scary. That's not, strong is not, oh, it's okay and everything's fine. I'm real amazed when I talk to people like in any capacity at this point, and I'm like, because I genuinely, it's very rare that I say, how are you? Maybe if I'm walking my dog and like, somebody's outside, I'm like, and they're like, hey, how are you? I'm like, oh, I'm good, how are you? It's rare that I do that because I don't like idle chit chat or like just BS type stuff. I just don't. I want to be real. I get real with things and people. So I genuinely like say to people like, how are you? How are you doing?
Right. Like you want an actual, this is not a rhetorical question. It is actual, how are you?
And when people do the knee jerk, like, I'm good, it takes me aback. And I will like kind of like, in whatever capacity that interaction is, I kind of sit with it for a second. And I'll be like, really? Like, well, okay, that's the
mental health professional in you. You're like
that's,
you don't understand. It's my job to talk to you right now.
Because I have a really bad habit of doing that exact thing. I'm the opposite. So I'm always like, How are you? I'm good. Good. It's good. So like I always start that, I think, just to have a way to start a conversation. And it's just a habit to do.
Right.
Like
Oh, I used to do it too. Like that's, and it's a Kentucky thing too.
yeah.
Yeah, it is a Kentucky thing.
You know,
It's a total Southern thing.
smile. Yeah, the smile laugh. I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
Right. Everything's fine.
Like,
Great.
girl, you're just a barrier.
Or you'll have the opposite, and people will be like, well, let me just tell you.
Let me tell you.
Let me just tell you. I'm awful. My life sucks.
Yeah, that is so true. It's one of
That's the other Southern thing.
the extremes. I had an interaction. I don't know, one day last week I was getting out of my car, and so Zoe, my 12-year-old Great Pyrenees, who's laying here beside me, goes to work with me. And so I'm like getting Zoe out of the car, and so I'm like walking her over to, do her business before we go in. And someone who I assumed was in my apartment complex walked up towards us and like stopped way too close, like even
Oh, God.
like too close. But especially right now. So I was, kind of politely, like, but quickly, like getting me and Zoe, like, a good distance away. And then and they had kind of tried to start some conversation that I wasn't necessarily interested in. So I was trying to politely not be interested. And anyways, I got about 10 feet away and I stopped and I turned and I said, how has social distancing affected you? And the person said, what do you mean? And I said, social distancing, being 6 feet or more away from people that aren't, in our inner circle, quarantine, not being able to go to work. How has that affected you? And he went, well, I guess I'm lonely. And I said, and I was just like, nodding. And he said, I'm not used to not going to work. I'm not used to not being able to talk to people. Like, I live alone. I'm just sitting at a computer now, and so I just thought I'd get up and walk around outside because, like, I just don't know. I'm never just in my apartment all the time, and I don't know what to do. And I said, well, I work in mental health, and I think it's really important that we stay connected with people. Do you have people? Like, do you have people you can call? Can you FaceTime? And he's like, well, yeah. And I said, I would say, go do that right now, because if we don't do that, we're all going to start acting really weird.
And yes.
Anyway.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. Like, imagine if nobody utilized Zoom. Guys, if you are watching this, go Zoom somebody. Because we're all going to be freaks when we get back out there. God.
What I just say was, you just weirded me out. And I don't know if that's your norm, but like, I don't know because I don't know you. But that's my point, is I don't know you, and you just weirded me out. And maybe it's because you've been sitting in your apartment all week not talking to anybody. So like, go do that and don't weird people out. Don't be weird.
Right.
We're need. We all behavior has meaning. All behavior has meaning, and it all comes from a need.
That's a good way to put it. It all does have meaning, and it all roots from somewhere. And right now, it's rooting from being isolated.
Yes,
I have my two best friends live in Richmond, and we text a lot. We don't necessarily get to see each other as much as we would like they get to see each other. But we have made it a point every day to do a FaceTime for the three of us. And it is helping me so much, even though I don't get to see them every day anyway. That's who I'm seeing every day. It's my two childhood friends. We FaceTime every night and just laugh and act stupid. And I think it is very important. You're right. I think people need to utilize the technology that we have in order to keep themselves from being a freak of nature. When we can actually hug. Once we can hug, people aren't going to be hugging anymore. People are going to be like, no, I'm good.
Well, I'm used to going on photo sessions and being around families and kids and just, going places with all kinds of different people. So this is totally different. I'm never seeing anybody. I'm seeing my family, but that's it. So it's a complete opposite. So I really feel like the Skype and Zoom and FaceTime and all that is super helpful.
So me and my employee were talking yesterday, and we're talking about collecting like all of ours and our kids' iPads, and like FaceTiming our regular customers and just putting them in seats in here in the lobby because, you know, we live in a small town here, Davy, and so, like, it's normal for Amy to be here editing her pictures and Kevin to be here, you know, hanging out, and there's 4 or 5 other people. It's nothing for the lot. It's like Cheers for the lobby to be full with, like, the same people. Everybody knows my entire life. Like, we joke, I have a board of directors over my life, and it's basically everybody that sits in my lobby. So, Amy, if you get a FaceTime from us in the middle of the day, we're just filling our chairs up.
I'm ready. Just make sure you've got my little foot heater down there by
Yeah, I got your foot heater set up. It's sitting right here. Kevin, I'll even put you a cup of coffee in the Frankenstein cup.
There you go.
It's funny.
Thank you so much for doing this with us.
Yes, I'm going to share it. You can feel free to share it on your page if you want. I mean, that could be helpful for anybody out there. Hopefully this will all be over with soon, and we can do a live podcast, and I can come see you in Lexington live. But in the meantime, guys, everybody just try to stay in tune with your emotions, with your feelings. There's a line that you can call. I don't know the number. I wish I would have looked it up before we did this, but there is a phone number that you can call. You can tune in and listen to Andy at 5. I'm sure he'll give you the phone number. Can we just give a shout out to our governor right now? Like, how awesome is great. I mean,
one of my coping skills right now is putting on my headphones and listening to Andy, Governor Fisher.
I did that with my friends and just drove yesterday.
And just, you know, like, help me feel comfortable and safe, and like there is a plan, and, you know, those are the things that help me planning and like looking at what I can do, but then like that balance of accepting, like, this is where we are, and these are the limits. Okay, and how do I, like, you know, how do I move within those limits and guidelines? Like, you know, like the whole, like, being at work example, like, and just little things that, like, okay, on a neurological level that our brains and our bodies are used to. So, like, noise, and, movement, and, you know what I mean? Like, this work environment, like, there may be a sense of, like, I don't know, I'm not a neurologist, so on a neurological sense, is deprivation of those things. So I imagine someone, like, sitting in their quiet home, you know, like, I think as much as we can, like, recreate our normal routines and structures, but also, like, our normal, like, stimuli, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm going to get on, like, kind of a hippie level for just a second, but you know, our movements, sound waves, our actual movements, they create energy.
Yes.
And the way that we perceive each of those things is what creates the energy around us, which is what triggers how we feel. And if you are not doing something to, like, create some friction there and create that energy, you're going to deflate.
Yes.
That's the yogi in me talking, but it's the truth. It is the truth. And then our chakras are going to get all out of line, and then we're not going to know what in the world we're doing. And then that's when we get angry, and then that's when we yell at our kids. And then we get guilt, then we get depression. And if you cannot tune into those things and be able to understand, wait a minute, maybe, just maybe, the only thing I need to do is pop on some music. Or pop on some background noise, or FaceTime somebody, or something to stimulate that friction.
So earlier today, I opened all the windows, and I went through the house, like, just making, like, sound. Like,
that's great.
Davey, are you a Libra? Are you a Libra?
I am a Leo.
You're a Leo. Okay.
I'm a Leo, but I have a Sagittarius moon and a Taurus rising sign. And I could go on through the rest. So,
I just know that I'm Sagittarius. I don't know anything else.
So whether we're talking about things neurologically, or we're talking,
I love it. I created this group, Kevin, called Create During COVID, and there's like 80 people on it now. And I'm just kind of encouraging people to, like, be creative, whether it's write a song. One of my good friends that I went to high school with, he just did a video of him doing a cover of a song.
Yeah.
Dara's in it, Amy, and she's like,
I've
all
been
into it.
I've been just like looking at other people's stuff. I just haven't posted any of my own.
It's really neat. People are getting so creative, and the idea behind it was use this time to, be creative. And
I did paint my mailbox yesterday. If that's creative.
Okay.
It's just blue. I didn't make it like cool. It's just blue.
That's so cool. I love it. Oh God, people are gonna start painting the weirdest shit.
I did get Isla a blow up easel to go outside to paint though.
How cool! Where
So
did you
fun.
find that?
Yeah. We got it on Wayfair for like $30 and I'm excited to try it out. I haven't blown it up yet, but she's a huge like paint girl. So I'm going to take that outside if I can get it blown up today and let her paint some.
Well, me and Marley have our Bob Ross paintings over here that we started like 2 months ago and never finished.
Uh-huh.
Have you seen them, Amy? The ones that are over here, over there.
Yes, they're cute.
But we started them a long time ago. Never finished them, so I told her I'd bring them home and finish them.
Yeah.
So we were so incredibly grateful to have had Davy on here to talk to us about mental health and self-awareness during this horrible time our country is in. But thank you, Davy, so much for coming on and talking to us. I think this is stuff that people really need to hear, and we are just so grateful for you. Maybe we'll do, once this is all over with, those like in general mental illness things that I have said that I wanted to discuss about, how I dealt with mine as a teenager and how therapy was important to me and stuff like that, that maybe we can come back on later and do another one.
Absolutely.
Any closing statements, guys?
I think this has really helped me, and I feel like this is something that'll help a lot of people because it's something we're all dealing with. And we all kind of don't know how to deal with it because we've never lived through something this scary and crazy. So I think it's good to figure out good ways to cope with it and try to get a sense of normalcy back. So thank you.
Thank you, guys. I would say thank you so much for having me. And I think I guess my final kind of thought would be the thing that maybe has helped me the most, the thought that I go back to, because I'm a very much mantra kind of person. Several years ago, I don't even remember, it may have been with the maybe 2008 with economy and housing market and all those things were happening. I was talking to their dad about things that were going on and what it felt like, and he said something to me that has really come back to me recently, and I thanked him for it. He said, David, you got to think throughout the history of humans, really bad things have happened, really stressful things, really trying things. And he said, imagine what it would have been like to live during World War I. You would have had to have felt like it was the end of the world. You would have had to have felt like this is it. This is the end. And he said, but it wasn't. And then we talked through different examples in history. And he said, all of those times people have, we've been all been, universally freaked out and upset and what's going to happen and what are we going to do? And he was like, and life goes on, and it does, and it finds a way. And so I've really been reminded of that recently, and I've gone back to that in my mind of it's normal the way that we're all feeling, and to be all the things that we are. And to also have the solidarity that we're all feeling the same way, to also have the solidarity that our ancestors or people before us felt this way too. It can't happen, and this is part of the human condition, and it's not the most comfortable part, but it's just part of what we're doing here in this existence.
That really is true. We may not have necessarily experienced a virus like this, or not we, but our ancestors, but there was times very similar to this, and they did get through. Somebody posted something very interesting about Anne Frank the other day. She was locked. How long was it? 700 days or something like that. She was locked away for 700 days, and she survived and even wrote about it. Surely to goodness we can get through this. So that gave me a little bit of hope. I think they were trying to be funny, and it was kind of funny, but it really is true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is all. Thank you all so much for
Thank you,
listening.
guys.
At this point, I think we're just on audio. So thank you all for listening. This will be on YouTube. This is on Spotify. And you can go and catch our live feed, what we got to do of it, on the Behind the Mug, on the Facebook group. And maybe we'll do this again next week, Amy.
Yep. I like it.
Can we do something funny?
Yes.
We're going to do something funny.
Sounds
I'm
good.
so sorry I did the T-Rex without you. But that wasn't me.
I was like, dude, she got one. I thought you got one. I was like, that's great.
My friend Christy came down and helped me serve coffees on curbside in a T-Rex suit, Davey. You'll have to go on my Facebook page, go all the way down, and you'll see it was really funny. But
I'm going to continue to do some intermittent Facebook Lives also on my Facebook business page, which is Davika, Davika Mattox, Mattox, Recovery and Wellness Behavioral Health.
Yes, definitely follow that, you guys, so that you can go. Cause I'm sure she'll be covering several different topics that are still under the same umbrella of the COVID situation. So we'll drop that link too. I'll go put it on the comments on my thing, so people want to listen to that, they can. All right, guys, thank you for listening to Behind the Mug and for tuning in, and we will talk to you all soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you all.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
You've been listening to Behind the Mug podcast, hosted by Jen Lafferty-Kopecky and Amy Wallen-Reed. Your producer is Kevin Horn. This has been a production of Hat Media Services.